Alright, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Red Cliff. There, get that better sound going there. Sorry about that. I always forget to hook up my microphone when I'm recording. But this seems to sound a lot better, crisper, less background noise, that kind of stuff. So here we go. This is going to be another John Woo flick. Only the second John Woo flick that I've ever seen in my entire lifetime. The other one being The Killer, starring Chow Yun-fat, which is a much better movie, by the way. I'm giving this one 4 out of 5 stars, though. I was kind of surprised by it. It was the highest grossing movie in China up until that point, beating out Titanic in that category. But this was before the Flowers of War. So this one came out in 2008, I guess. It's kind of a relatively older Chinese movie. And it says a lot that it was the highest grossing movie in China of all time up to that point. The other one being Titanic, which was a US movie. So it sort of started the beginning of this wave of Chinese movies, I guess. And I believe it was John Woo's first Chinese speaking movie since, I don't know, decades prior. You know, Chow Yun-fat era. So he kind of left Hong Kong and sold out to Hollywood lamestream movies. But this one's pretty good. John Woo admits that it's 50% historically inaccurate, which sounds about right. This movie's long, over 2 hours, but the international version, so-called, is even longer. The one that played in China, it's broken up into 2 parts, but it's like over 4 hours long or something ridiculous, or double the length of this one. So I disliked the first hour. I couldn't really understand how the anti-war forces could bow down to the warmongers. In particular, there are a couple of Southern rebel guys. I guess one of them has these advisors hanging out. And all of them are anti-war, but he decides to go to war anyway, of course. Sounds like the Iraq War. Anyways, so it starts out with the emperor. He's worried about his prime minister taking over the throne by invading the south. So they decide to sort of craft this unholy alliance with a couple rebel armies in the south to fight this Cao guy who calls himself prime minister, and he wants everybody to bow down to him. And he's in love with the one of the southern armies or navy or one of the southern military guys' wife. He wants to sack the guy and take his wife. He's got a painting of her, and she's anti-war too. Um, she keeps doing this calligraphy that says peace, and she knows how to make this really soothing hot tea. She's like a hot tea connoisseur. Um, she gets naked with her husband, but she's like 3 months pregos, and it's all off camera too. The nudity, you just see the guy's chest and her back, and that's about it. It is a Chinese movie after all. I find myself saying that a lot lately, but you would think in the U.S. version they would at least had something better than that. That was kind of disappointing. So the first hour is just politics. This annoying guy waving his feather around like he's so smart. Apparently he knows how to predict the weather too, because depending on the cloud formations and the yin and the yang position or whatever, he can predict the weather with great accuracy. I mean, in modern times, he would have been the ideal weatherman. So he uses that to his advantage. He uses the fog to like send ships out with a bunch of straw on it, so they can't really see that the ships are kind of barricaded by all this straw. So the cows soldiers, they fire these bows and arrows at these straw boats, which capture their arrow weapons, so they can use it later during their final assault. They're outmatched. Cows troops gets typhoid fever. So they send the dead bodies over to the Red Cliff area where the other army is camped out. The soldiers start getting typhoid fever from the dead bodies, from touching the dead bodies, even though the annoying feather guy tries to quarantine them and he fails. So one of the Southern Army pulls out, chickens out after contracting this typhoid fever. It's like biological warfare kind of stuff. But they promise to come back later, of course. And there's some movies pretty much, the battle scenes look like Lord of the Rings type stuff, bows and arrows and swords and stuff. Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's interesting. In the beginning, they use the turtle formation to crush the army, but then they're far outmatched when they go up against the navy. So they use all these tricks like the fog and the wind and stuff. The wind is supposed to blow fire on all the enemy ships, even though the cow guy thinks that the wind's blowing the opposite direction on their ships, not his. So the wind miraculously changes direction because the weatherman dude knows what's going on. He can predict the weather, what's going to happen the next day, which way the wind blows. No pun intended. Then they're worried that they're going to lose, so So the Prago's babe, the general's wife, goes to Cao Cao. And he starts like, uh, she starts like teasing him and stuff. Um, she wants peace, or she's gonna cut her throat. Then she makes some tea that gives him a headache. Um, all the while, his army is being attacked. So she like distracted him while he's supposed to be engaged in war. Um, so that was pretty clever, I guess. I don't know how true it is, but they say he lost the war over a woman. I don't know. I didn't see that anywhere mentioned in Wikipedia, but John Woo is pretty good at conjuring up these political and love-making type of triangles there. So I guess he was trying to appeal to the audience there, which is natural. He's a director. But I enjoyed the last hour or so. It's kind of boring soap opera the first hour, but like most Chinese movies. But the second hour was pretty entertaining. There's also a hot-looking Chinese babe who plays a spy. She's supposed to be like a princess or something. She only gets partially naked, just like the other gal. So pretty tame, but there's lots of blood squirts, and the guy gets his arm chopped off. Dead bodies all over the place. So it's pretty realistic in terms of war realism. That part I was sort of impressed by. But I can't imagine watching the international version. I watched the theatrical version, which was a little over 2 hours long, I think. But I can't imagine watching the elongated version. It must be like 3 hours of total boredom. I would have rated it 2 stars, man. That's what I'm guessing. So they cut down the scenes for the US version for people like me. I don't know why Netflix doesn't have the international version so that I can compare it better, but whatever. I guess Netflix wants to appeal to US audience also. I don't mind watching a movie that I dislike that's really long. But would have been interesting to compare the two at least. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but it's definitely good. At least the last half of it is great. But you got to sort of temper that with the boring political soap opera going on at the beginning. I think they could have just shortened the scenes somewhat and told the same story. I don't know why they had to make it 2 hours. Maybe they are trying to appeal to the Chinese audience here in the United States. I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely worth checking out the last half of the movie. I can't really say highly recommend it, but yeah, it's worth checking out. I was kind of surprised. I had low expectations based on the other mainstream movies that John Woo has done here in the United States. It's kind of interesting to see him go back to his roots, so to speak. Directing some Asian guys. The feather guy looks like he's Japanese, but I've seen in a couple of Chinese movies, and he knows Chinese, so I guess he's mixed. I don't know. Kind of an interesting looking guy. He doesn't look Chinese, by the way. So he's got the hirsute eyebrows and the funny looking hair. Everybody has funny looking hair in this one. Um, they got the Princess Leia bun going on there. The men. There's this weird scene where Cao Cao is playing some kind of kickball game in preparation for war. I don't think it helped him much, though. Even though supposedly he had almost 1 million people protecting him, or whatever ridiculous, exaggerated amount that people have been used to romanticize this battle where they were far outmatched and yet they still won. Um, don't know much about the Han Dynasty, but I don't think the ending is correct. The ending didn't make any sense to me. So I won't spoil it, but I guess that's what John Woo means when he says it's not historically accurate. The little tryst with the general's wife was kind of far-fetched and hard to believe. Same going with the weatherman predictions, and the ending was kind of contrived and a little bit corny for me. I don't know, but overall, I thought the war scenes were pretty decent and realistic. So that's why I'm giving it 4 stars, mainly for the war scenes and the last. Well, I won't say last hour, but I'll say last 55 minutes before the ending. I guess something like that. Yeah, I guess that would be more accurate. The last 50 minutes before the ending, because the last 6 minutes are just rolling credits. So the last 50 minutes before the ending and the rolling credits. How's that? That's pretty good. All right, so 4 to 5 stars. Not one of the great movies. Certainly not as good as War of Flowers. I mean, Flowers of War. Excuse me. But and not as good as The Killer. But definitely surprised me. I thought I was going to give it 2 or 3 stars. I was kind of leaning that way. And then towards the end, I really enjoyed the ending so much. Not the ending, but the last 50 minutes before the ending and the rolling credits. Then I'm giving this one 4 stars, actually. It does get a pretty high rating of 7.3 on IMDb. So, yeah. It's a good movie, not a great movie. I thought it could have been better if they would have made it shorter. Kind of sped up the action a little bit. Less melodrama. Less Chinese soap opera bullshit. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. Kind of, the first hour of the movie kind of bored me and put me to sleep, but I think the second half of the movie, for the most part, made up for it. So, yeah, pretty cool flick. Bit of a surprise, and definitely enjoyed the last part. So, that's the end of my review. Laters.